Check, check. One, two. Yep, just ASL. Okay. Phil. No, I don't have the pad. I was saying Phil. Duck was up there. It was supposed to say what? Or playback, one of the two. I don't remember if it's playback or presentation. Nope. Check, check. One, two. So what is that? Check, 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 check. Yeah, I'm coming through presentation. Presentation, yeah. He said you probably got to unmute the house. Check, check, check. Why it sound like that? So muffled. Oh, okay. I'm like, why? Why? But yeah, this will work for yeah.
Apostle James,
Yes, sir.
can you hear me all right?
I can.
Awesome.
I appreciate you put that banner up. You talked about my banner last year so bad. So I said, well, I'm just going to stay safe and just use the church banner. So, but now I got the Holy Convocation, so I got the authorized version, so I feel better.
Yeah, it looks a lot
Uh,
better. That's solid. That's solid.
I tried. I tried.
You
No
ki-
picture.
you
I
killed it.
tried.
You killed it. It looks good on you. It brings out the blacks of your eyes.
There you go. Right.
The pupils of the eyes.
Pupil.
Also early. Oh, I can't talk to you.
You
Use the
gotta cut your
microphone.
microphone. You gotta mute your microphone. No, your microphone that you're using to talk through in the sanctuary.
So no, she mute the computer mic and use the mic that you have in
Oh,
your hand.
okay. There you go. Yeah. How about that? Look at me trying to advise you in audio 2,000 miles away.
That's your anointing.
Okay. Yeah, no, no. That's kind of being a little overzealous.
Is it on? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
You think I'm watching you, aren't don't you?
Always. I feel those eyes even when I'm not on camera.
Okay, well, I guess we'll be in for the session. So let's see.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna mute myself. I was mute the whole time. I told him we was gonna be 20 and 25 minutes, and he laughed. So don't tell Spanky I told you.
Yeah, well, Spanky gets on me a lot, but I think I did good in the last session.
I think you did
I
excellent.
can't account for questions, but I got a timer on this side. See, so I'm trying to make sure that I stay within my allotted time.
You did really well. I
Yeah.
was so
I
proud.
trying. I'm trying. You said you were surprised. Spanky treat me
I said,
wrong.
I said, he's over there teasing me. I said, I'm in person. I said, I throw hands.
I need Spanky help, so I can't mess with him.
Well, I'm in here in person. I can resurrect him.
I
You
know
got
you.
just
Yeah, you're in a different class, but I I gotta watch myself.
well, hands, hands. Wax on, wax off.
There you go. Right? Yeah.
Wax on, wax off. So I'm gonna be good over here, Apostle Early. I need his help.
That's cool. I appreciate it. Yeah, I definitely need his help. So he kind of got me.
Oh, you come?
Yeah, you can leave it on.
I'm gonna try to be good over here. So
We had 11 minutes. Okay.
I pulled the power from this light tree, so just if you don't see it. Yep.
You said it jumps off the page.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
I think a lot of questions.
Was hoping that it wasn't content too content heavy.
I think it was high level.
Yeah, try hopefully.
Apostle like James, you mind
Yes,
trying a PowerPoint for me real quick?
sure, absolutely.
I told him you have both slide decks.
Yes, I do. I have both presentations.
Beautiful.
You got it?
Yeah. So when you go to full screen, what does that look like for me?
Yep.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So, Apostle Waddell, I am on a timer, but I have been known to get excited about weird stuff like this. But, can you just, you know, go ahead and just, Apostle, you could, whatever you say, I'll hear it. I got my timer, but I just want to be sure. 'Cause I don't want to, I'm setting it for 25 minutes, and then the rest is yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, but you're gonna have. Now remember, whatever you do, you're gonna have Spanky to remind you on
I
L.I.N.
know. I know. I'm not getting in trouble with him tonight.
I will be in the chat.
Thank you. Cause I still got Sunday, so I can't mess up with him.
Sunday. That's where you can. That's where you can do your thing on Sunday. You know.
Yeah, nah, we'll see.
Well, I tell you one thing, I'm learning something new every day. Every day.
We really are.
Yeah,
I join you in that.
every day.
Oh, I have a question for Spanky. I don't know if he can hear me.
He can hear you.
Hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Um, Apostle asked me to do the after with her tonight. I don't know where I dial in for that.
You could probably do the same one.
Number here
Yep.
with the same Zoom. Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Because
Cool.
I think Kevin Lill will be on the same one too.
Okay. All right.
So when you just come in on mute. That way we can just highlight you.
All right.
Awesome.
But that's after. So I'm gonna wait for he's done before I do that. I'm not getting on before.
Okay. So
Yeah.
because like yesterday, Prophet stayed on the entire time until the service was over.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, like I'm talking about like until the benediction was given, she stayed on.
Okay.
So so I don't know if he's gonna do the same thing. If he does, y'all just will meet in Zoom.
Well, can you text me when it's safe to log in?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
okay if that's not adding too much work?
Well, I'm just got to
I
make
just
sure I
need to like
remember.
know when he. Yeah. I mean, I'm watching. I'm looking from here, but I just want to make sure.
But yeah, so you're on a delay too. So I'll try to remember to text you. Or if you can send me a reminder text to remember to text you.
I'll remind you to remind me.
Yes, there you go.
Gotcha. There you go. I'll do that right now. All right.
Now you're sending that deck out because I know Elder Rosin was asking about the whole presentation. I told her you had a whole.
Yes, I will send it out in PDF, and I just need to know who to send it to. I'm not sure if it's Dwight or Brother Mike or whomever, but I'll figure it out, and I'll get it to them. Yeah, all three of them.
All three of who? Oh,
Well, yours, mine, and then the one that I just did for the pastors.
oh, okay. And I told her we were working on new members, so we have to still finish. I have to still go back.
Yeah, it's pretty much done. I just have to get Apostle Darling to sign off.
Right. I think we have to do our history, San Diego's.
Yeah, so I'll speak to that.
We have come a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I'm
have.
excited.
We really have.
It's really a long way.
I think Apostle McNeely dialed onto the wrong one. He's trying to get in here. I'm gonna text him.
Oh, you can even send a message to the waiting room too.
Oh, that's right. Hello. Could act like I know Zoom, right?
You don't have to open the door. Look, you just send them a message. Send a message outside the door. Hey, wrong house. Pastor Earl, is she taking your picture?
Are they? They're taking my picture? Oh, wow. I don't photo well.
Shy.
It's better to take a picture of me when I'm presenting because then I'm not conscious of
He,
it.
he's shy.
I'm so shy.
Yeah, he's shy. He's like apostle when he under that anointing.
Yeah, that's the best time to give me because I'm not conscious of it.
I told him I have the Gomer Pyle effect. Just like, okay, that's over. Back to myself.
Yeah, you're photogenic. I'm not.
Yes, you are. You are very photogenic. I love your graphics and your yeah yeah. You are very photogenic. Yeah, most people.
All right. Well, I got 7. So I'm not sure. I'm ready when you guys are.
Okay, we're ready. Okay, we're in it. Okay, we're ready. So we're getting ready to go live. Okay.
All right, I see the chat box, so I'm assuming that I'm live now.
I agree.
Excellent. All right. So, hey, everybody, I want to welcome you to our staff training for Liberty International Network. And again, if you are joining me again after being on earlier, we certainly appreciate you all doing that. Um, what we want to do today is to take an opportunity to give you some updates in terms of where we've come. So myself and Apostle Wadeo are going to be presenting today. I'm going to take the first portion of it, talking about from whence we've come, and really kind of look at some data that we have that you gave us feedback on over the last couple of years in a couple of areas. And then she's going to be talking about our path forward in the second half. All right. So let's get right into it. Again, I appreciate your time this afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see this. And so again, we want to welcome you to the L.I.N operations. I've used this platform, I think of about a month ago. We all got together, or most of us got together who are part of the Saturday trainings. And we went through kind of a debrief of where we've come from and gave some information out there. This one is going to feel a little different because what we're going to do today is really kind of take a look at some of your feedback that we have collected through I don't know how many surveys over the last 2 years. And so we want to share this with you so that you can have a good understanding of what we've done and then where we're going. So with that in mind, let me go to this next session. So when we talk about from whence we've come, it really, these three things here are the things that we have been working on since our inception about 3 years ago. But in the last 2 years, we've had the opportunity to get feedback along the way. All right. The first year we didn't capture that. We've been able to do that. So we've focused on kind of creating a feature rich and robust reporting portal so that people are able to the feedback and reporting portal where people are able to fill out reports online. So a lot of these reports were in Excel formats and Word platforms, Word and things of that nature. Now, thanks to Prophet Dwight, we've been able to put that into what we call the LIN Hub. And the LIN Hub, we're not going to be talking about today in great detail, but it's really focused on two things right now, but it's an evolving organism, all right? The first thing is to provide a platform whereby locations, campuses, as well as with the network can communicate back and forth by filing reports in an electronic format. And then for all levels, apostles, pastors, elders, monthly reports, um, submitting your ideas. We know that from early in the year, Prophet Dwight talked about even the contributions and things of that nature. So we're constantly adding to this. And what helps us be efficient in that area is having your feedback. All right. And so, but we're going to do a significant amount of talking today about training because that is something that we were asked to pioneer about a year ago. And so Apostle Waddell, Prophetess Nadine, Brother Mike Dorsey, and others have helped out with that along the way in different formats like Leaders Congress and the Saturday trainings or special things that we've done on site and also virtually. So let's take a look at this. When we talk about LIN training, it's really in three things. One is in-person and online training when we're speaking of events. And again, that's related to Leaders Congress and Leader Shift and, just the different names that we've used. Then, of course, the monthly training that takes place every month on a Saturday. And then we're also going to be designing and we're working on modulated training, okay? And so there's certain core things that are germane to all of us. And so what happens is that you'll be able to log in and see a lot of those recorded trainings, whether that's on StreamYard or Zoom or whatever that may be, things that we've already recorded that we can go ahead and place out there in a format where you can go and learn at your pace. So that's what we're going to be working on over the next year. So let's talk about these areas that we've used to kind of capture some data. So one of the things that we've started a couple of years ago, myself and Apostle Waddell led a leaders congress in Bolingbrook. And this was a couple of years back, obviously before COVID. And it was actually at the start of COVID, if you really want to talk about it. So it was like, I want to say February of 2020. And then COVID in March took place. And then this past year, what we did was virtual. So we wanted to kind of get your feedback in terms of how effective that was. And so we're going to share that with you. These are the areas that we wanted to focus on. We wanted to talk about, creating a registration process that was painless. How engaging were the presenters and the content, the rating of the event, was the conference length too long, content helpful? Was the course rating, how would you rate the course? And then the future events that people would like to see, meaning things that they would like to see training around on the Saturday trainings and things like that. We kind of created leadership training. We started off with that in the beginning, but now we're now going to be providing customized training around things that people have requested. Okay. And then, of course, we wanted to look at the value for the investment. So let's take a look at some of the data that we got in. So this is going to be looking at 2020 and also 2021. So in 2020, when we did leadership, even though it says Leaders Congress, there is leadership. We had 32 people in 2020 that filled out the survey and gave us feedback, and they gave us some serious feedback. All right, and then of course this past year we had a total of 25 folks who gave us feedback about, transparently how they felt about the conference and those focus areas that we talked about. And so when we take a look at the registration process, for the most part, people found the registration process to be user-friendly, right? Of course, through feedback, we've also learned in 2020, when we did it online, that people didn't always have access to the PDFs, right? The workbooks that we had, that was something that was added to the experience in 2021, but we did not do that then. So there were certain people who were watching us live or virtually, but they did not have access to the information. So that's where the power of the feedback came in. But for the most part, we did have some opportunity there, and that's based on what I had talked about before. And so in 2020, we tried to fix that. Right. And so you'll see that, the feedback from people who felt that it was extremely easy to use, very easy to use, and then a smaller portion in the not so. So again, every time we give feedback with that, we're able to improve the experience from year to year. And so then I wanted to understand how were people rating the event, leadership. For the most part, you can see everybody had a really good experience with that. Both were John Maxwell courses that we were teaching on leadership. So it was a total of 3, 2 in 2020 and 1 this past year, or this year rather. And so for the most part, you can see that the feedback was given to us that people really did enjoy it. And the same was for 2021. All right. And so what we like about that is that, okay, this was training that was put in place that we wanted to make sure add value to people's lives and something that they can implement, not just in Liberty International Network, but also in their professional career and vocations. So that was very good to hear that. And when we got to was the content helpful? It's great if we put on a great presentation, but if it's not usable to you, then what are we actually doing? So when you look at was the content helpful, again, you can see pretty favorable. Again, 32 people gave us feedback in 2020, 25 people gave us in 2021. And so that somewhat there was one person, and that was something that is easy to fix. But for the most part, across the board, people thought that the content that was presented was something that they felt was helpful and useful to their life. How about the engaging? Were presenters engaging? As you can see, 2020 leadership, people felt that that was the case. And again, in 2021, the same piece. That somewhat is one person that gave feedback on that, but that was because of systemic issues. And so those are things that we're going to make sure that we address in making sure that people have all of the information that they need up front to minimize those experiences. And then, of course, conference length, that's always important because sometimes you can have too much content. And so when we take a look at this, I appreciate the candid and transparent feedback that people gave us. Leadership, there was a significant amount of people who felt that the content was too much. And so we adjusted that. We went from 2 offerings in 2020 to 1 offering in 2021. All right. Some people, which was 1 person, felt that it was too short, but for the most part, people felt that it was about right, right? Because there were day and evening sessions. And as you can see here, the about right increased in 2021, but yet there were some people who felt that there was a portion of it that felt that it was too long, and it was done over 2 days. So we take that feedback, and we'll definitely be looking at how we adjust that for 2022. Course rating. And this one here, as you can see, 2020 leadership, the feedback was positive across the board. People felt that the course was a great course for them. In 2021, there was 1 person that felt that the course was fair, but for the most part, 99% of the people felt that the course was appropriate for where they were. How about detailed? Because sometimes you can have too much detail. And so in 2020 leadership, you see some people slightly, 1 person felt slightly too much or slightly, and then others felt that it was too much content, but a large portion of our folks that attended that gave us feedback felt that the content was about right. All right. And then when we take a look at 2021, as you can see, some slightly, but what you see increase there is the about right. So that just shows from year to year, as we get your feedback, we're able to implement changes that actually you can see that improve the experience. Future events. Now, this is where we are crafting the part that Apostle Waddell is going to be covering, but some of the things that people want to see for future events is, more interaction for the future events, meaning that, there's a nice balance between, the content presentation and then opportunities for discussion. And even though we open it up and allow people to talk through that, we can look at breakout rooms if it's virtual and just kind of taking portions of it. So there are ways that we could address that. But I appreciate people letting us know that they want to be more involved in that process. More breaks, that's important, especially when you're dealing with virtual. And then convenient location. Of course, this is 2020, all right, because you obviously the location was your house in 2021. But then, a comfortable space and relevant topic, that was issues. Some folks had a challenge getting out to Bolingbrook in 2020. As you can see, that's not an issue coming into 2021 because it was virtual. So again, there's that more interaction, more breaks, knowledgeable speakers, which was 1 person that said, having more knowledgeable speakers, and then relevant topic. And so when you see things like relevant topic, it doesn't mean that your topic that you had was not, but it means that I need this. And so that is why we're going to talk about what that next piece looks like. So value for the investment in 2020, you can see here that people felt overall that it was 1 person. When you see it that small, it's just 1 individual, but most of the people that 31 people felt that there was the value was right for the price point that was set. And then of course the same for 2021, 2020 leadership, 2021, we had a different course in Leaders Congress, all right? So let me go into the monthly training real quickly. And again, we're looking year over year. We're gonna be looking at 2020 and 2021. Attended the training on a regular basis. You can see it's kind of like a 51, 49% here that, half of our folks were utilizing the training, but another large portion of our folks were not. a part of the monthly trainings. So my question as a person is why? Right, in terms of interpreting the and analyzing the data, why weren't people in that space? So this is the feedback that people gave us. For some, it was scheduling conflict. For others, it was their schedule. Others had prior engagements, work related, because we have a lot of people that work on Saturdays, and then of course some had personal obligations that prevented them to be able to do that. So what we look at when we see things like this is it gives us an opportunity to say, okay, we probably need to re-look at the time that we are executing this training on Saturday. It's not that Saturday is a bad day, but at the time that we're doing it, depending on what time zone we're in, right? Because we have East Coast, we have West Coast, and then we have Midwest, we probably need to adjust that. So we're going to be taking a look at that as a training team and looking at, proposing some new times and also the option of taking the recordings of the training and making those things, in a place where people can go through the LIN hub, if you will, and go and catch it if I'm at work and I need to just go back and look at it on my own. All right, to still make sure that they get access to it. How many people like the training? I mean, look at this, right? So people are really engaged, and we're talking about that 51% of folks who were attending this throughout the year. They like the training, all right? And the somewhat was centered around, again, being able to propose having access to other types of courses being taught that they felt were more relevant to their job function within the network. And so, how many people understood the trainings? A lot of people could like it, but do they understand it? Why are we doing it? All right. And so, you can see that for the most part, people were extremely and very well felt that they understood the purpose of the training, which speaks to Apostle Waddell and Prophetess Nadine, ability to help people understand that during the training, right? So that just means that the trainers did a good job in terms of helping people to understand why we're coming together. We had a group, Facebook group, all kind of different things that were done to kind of make sure that people were able to get access to all of the PDFs and things that they needed to have access to. But then going back to some of those other things, what are people asking for? And that's big for me. So that is really what it helps to craft our next year. So when we look at this, people are asking for things on communication. They want conflict resolution, event planning, relationships and family. And you can see how this kind of spreads out, right? Because we do a lot of things in our network, and this is what leaders are asking for. So this is important that we know this instead of just kind of force feeding certain material to them and saying, well, this is what we think you need. So it'll be a combination of the things that we identify. Yeah, this will be, good for you. But then also this is what people are asking for. So communication, conflict resolution, event planning, relationships and family, working within teams. That's huge because, again, we're dealing with different leadership styles, personality styles. And so there is a lot of opportunity there around a misunderstanding taking place because we really don't understand where people are coming from. It's not intentional, but it just happens when you have people that are working together. So working within teams is huge. And then, of course, leadership training within the auxiliary, how to lead within the auxiliary and lead by influence. And then specific auxiliary training. Maybe that's auxiliary training around being an evangelist, being a deacon, whatever that may be, being an elder, and how do I support the shepherd? Those are the kind of things that we want to look at. And then, of course, recruiting the other generations, right? Because we definitely need to be looking at that as we talk about legacy. So the legacy is not just something that a pastor has to be concerned with. Elders have to think like that too. We always have to be thinking in the best interest of the organization, like who are the next gen leaders and who are those folks that we identify that we can bring alongside of us and begin to train now so that if we have to step away for a leave of absence or health reasons, whatever that is, the auxiliary organization doesn't come to a halt because there are people who have been able to have their hands on it and have an experience with it before they're asked to lead it. All right, so that is very big in terms of the recruiting aspect. Personal development, which is what we focused on earlier on, so people are still asking for that as well. So as I get ready to wrap this up, I want to talk about one of the special events that was done, which was the leadership game. And so the leadership game is kind of goes to that area about, working within teams. things, and really helping to understand how to do that in a robust format. So that was something that was conducted on the Saturday. It was a special training. And so, as you can see, a large percentage of people did not attend that. They didn't even know, in some cases, that it was being done because not everybody saw the email blast or whatever it may be. So, that talks about how we, as leaders and pastors and apostles and things like that, have to do a better job in making sure that our people are having access to this information and understand the importance of why special events like this, because this was fun. This was a fun game, but it was also teaching about leadership and teams and things of that nature. So the question becomes why? Scheduling conflict. So can you see how that keeps coming up in terms of scheduling conflict? So we have to take a look at repurposing the time in terms of how what time we conduct those things, and maybe it needs to take place later in the day so that more people can have access to it, and even more strategic in terms of how we get that information out to everyone. Okay. And then, of course, when we rate the leadership game's effectiveness, as you can see, a lot of people thought that it was effective. Now, you may say, well, Pastor Early, look at this, that, there's a large neutral area there, but there's a reason for it. Right. And so asking those questions and why were people neutral in those particular areas? But the feedback we got was, playing the game more frequently, to help me get used to how it's played. So then that talks about, some of the pre-work that we do to make sure that we set people up for success so that they have a good experience with that. And then the second piece is allocating more time. People wanted more time to be able to play the game. So that's the reason why that neutral was so large. So if all you saw was just the graph, you'd be thinking like, oh, well, that's a lot of folks that really didn't enjoy it if I'm one of those folks that didn't come. But the reason is because they were asking for more time, or some people were just not familiar with how the game was played and wanted to have more time to understand it so that they could enjoy it and play it effectively. All righty. So with that, that's my portion of it. And my God, I got 5 extra minutes that I can pass over to Apostle Waddell so that she can walk us through this aspect of it. So I'm going to pull up her presentation, and then she's going to lead us through L.I.N training and staff planning. And so you can just kind of get an idea of what the path forward actually looks like. So Apostle Waddell, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay, I want to thank Apostle Early. We trying to pull 8 locations, and even some of them are even outposts that are other people in different places that are still a part of the network is a bit of a challenge. And so that piece is communication, and we're working feverishly on getting a systematic plus systemic communication, which is going to help us take all of that data and make it, easier for you to access and all of that. So this is the agenda tonight, and it's going to be high level. We have a full night. But we want to talk about the objectives for the training because people really want to know why we're doing what we do, the expected benefits, our approach, the current state of things, and then a plan and measuring success, and then also the barriers to our success that we're projecting. And then we want to talk about moving forward, and that'll give us opportunity for questions and answers. So this is going to be very high level. We're not going to stretch it out just, to make it longer. So when we talk about our objectives, we want to establish and build a team of network training leaders and training leaders that train leaders. We want this group here is very well trained. Apostle Turner invested a lot of training. Apostle Lathan. We've been even with Apostle Early coming on as COO, and plus Apostle Darlin Turner. It's been a constant. This is a training center. Apostle Turner dubbed it as a training center. This is a facility where we come and get equipped so we can go into other places. And so we want to focus on areas of personal growth and development, communications, leadership, administrative, bookkeeping, QuickBooks, anything that we need, and depending on the need in each location, team building and operations. So this is our objective, increase frequency and quality of communication through the quarterly L.I.N staff meetings, which they're going to be re-implemented. We've kind of fallen off of that because how many of you know if we don't meet, we won't meet the expectations? So and meeting is so important. for us in this time, because we are, like Apostle Early said, we're East Coast, Midwest, and West Coast. And then create a web-based training modules. We talked about the micro learning, and this way they'll give you more access, especially with the time constraints. So we're working feverishly, and hopefully you caught the presentation earlier, because that would spoke to that a little bit more. And so we want to assess training needs. This hence the surveys, and if you fill them out, we do listen. Trust me, we listen. And so assess training needs and gaps and develop a strategy for resolving them. And our whole purpose is not problems, but solving problems. Our whole purpose is to address, because everybody has different needs. What I needed 20 years ago, I don't need today. What I needed as a teenager, I don't need as a 68-year-old. So, and when we look at the collective group of people, we want to be able to find those gaps and meet those places. And so we want to build a strong working relationship with network and local senior leadership to foster solidarity and cohesiveness. And that's really key. Apostle Early made it really clear that we're not going to go past the leadership in local houses. They'll tell you, we call them, we say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what we're going on, because if they're not informed, it's like undermining. It's undermining. So we're trying to talk past and over. And that's something that we definitely, it's not in our DNA, not in our culture. So we want to really make that known, that we're about respect and honor and valuing. And so we appreciate every local leader, and we appreciate our leaders. And if we didn't give honor to our Apostle Darlin, or Apostle Lathan, and Apostle Early James, this is a good segue, because they've been working feverishly to bring this together. And so Apostle Turner was and still is the most powerful, skillful master builder. And we can only follow in his footsteps. And it would take a collective, how many of us, to even fulfill the shoes that he walked in. But we're certainly taking the learnings, and we're going to continue his legacy. We're going to continue what he began. So we want to share with you the benefits. When we can be cohesive, when we can come together as teams across the network, there'll be greater productivity. And I don't know how many of you feel when I'm not sensing that productivity, I'm not sensing that output, then I want to look at what's short-circuiting that. And so, but the benefits of us doing these things is going to increase the productivity, increase organizational awareness, because a lot of people, as you notice in the graph, wasn't aware. And we want to make sure that we're bringing that awareness, organizational growth, organizational investment in people to up-level skills. And again, the last session, at the earlier session, is, when you get these skill sets, they are transferable. You can take them anywhere. And so we want you to know that it's just not limited to here, but you can take them home. I mean, you begin to live a full, whole life. Jesus said, would you be made whole? And even in these trainings, we're finding out places we didn't know we were stuck. We're finding out how to grow ourselves and develop ourselves. So it's really important. And then improve morale. And the hardest thing to work against is when there's low morale. And when we see we're actually doing something and moving, it's going to increase morale. And how many of you can just honestly admit that the morale gets low? And so we have to, as leaders, we have to monitor that. We have to pay attention to that, and we can't ignore that. We just can't keep pushing when morale is low. We have to stop, pull back, and assess. And so what can we do collectively to address those needs? And that's all a part of what we're bringing as a network. And then redefine culture. Do you know culture can trump your vision? You can have the greatest vision in the world, but if the culture is toxic, if the culture is divisive, if the house divided against itself, the Bible said can't stand. I don't know how you can define it any more than having a culture that does not align with your vision. So we want to make sure that we are the benefit of elevating the culture and bringing the culture into alignment with what the vision and the mission is. Okay, and this is our approach. We will invest the needed materials from various sources, internal and external. This is our statement to you. This is our quest to this network, that we're going to do whatever it takes from every avenue, every venue, to bring the needed investment to you, because you're serving. We're all servants. And any organization finds ways to invest in the people. And this is what we started out last year, making the investment in you. And so we'll use the collective skillfulness, skill sets, and knowledge base of the body of this network and of the training team and of our leadership. And this is how we're going to approach it. I kept it simple, 2 points. This is what it's going to take. Okay? All right? now, now, if you make that a little challenging, I want to see this survey. Too much, too little. I don't know. Maybe that was too small. All right. And so, and then our current state. Right now, we are conducting monthly team building, personal growth development, training, and leadership training programs. So we're doing it once a month. I have a young lady, she said, in the real world, and I don't know what world she's living in, but she said, in the real world, she said, I'm kidding, but in the real world, so in the real world, how many of you know that that's a small portion, but when we look at it, we're not the only ones training. We're not the only ones developing you. You have your own local leaders, but there's a level in the network because we're looking to pull the resources that we have in the local houses. And let's go back to Apostle Turner when we did apostolic team ministry training. We had this place filled from all the known churches there, which was Waukegan and Chicago. We didn't have a Philly, East, Philly, West, San Diego. We didn't have a Bolingbrook or Zion. And we were a part of that shift. We were part of that leadership, and we were all being cross-trained and collectively trained. We were being prepared to start a San Diego, to start a Philadelphia, to start an Orlando, to start Zion and Bolingbrook. We were being equipped to be sent out. And so that doesn't stop. Once you get trained, if you stop, you're losing momentum, you're losing traction. So this is our current state. So this is what we're doing now. And Apostle Early has been having different groups test out templates. We're moving the technology. We're really up-leveling the technology because that's a good part of where we are now. This is a digital age, and if we don't move into it, I remember we went from analog to digital, and then that was still old. So we are moving, and so we want to stay current. We want to stay relevant. We are piloting the DISC program in our Bolingbrook church. And I would love to have the leaders of that team really tell you about what they've had to steward. It's a stewardship, and they realize that this is a place of stewardship, your good management of bad experiences. And if we don't understand how we're made up, then we won't know who's showing up when we're in our conversations and in our relationships. Because if I don't know who I am, remember the 3 faces of Eve and all those different personalities. But if you don't know who you're showing up at, well, let me talk to Jane. Okay, no, I don't want to talk to her. Let me talk to Sue. Let me talk to Liz. No. Well, let me talk to Ben. Maybe Ben is in there too. But no. So I just had to give a little levity there. But anyway, but we are piloting programs because we are testing. We're beta testing because we really want to bring the best to you. And some of it's by trial and error. And if if we can't kick the tires on a new vehicle, we don't want it, right? We can't look under the hood. We can't see if it works or not. So we want to test it to the limit. So when we get it to you, see, they'll be able to help us with the process. They'll be some of the leaders in this process moving it forward. And then we identified the need for skilled trainers that can bring their knowledge to the table and have the time to invest in themselves and others. So it takes a time commitment. And so we're looking for people who can make the time commitment because it takes commitment. And all of you know, how many of you served on how many auxiliaries? You don't even know how many you served on already in these how many years. You've been on just about every, some people served in every department already. But we need you. We need you. And we need your knowledge, we need your wisdom, and we need your commitment. And it's okay. It's okay if you don't have the time commitment now. Then we're not talking to you right now. And then so we're gonna go to the next slide. I got to keep moving because I'm like him. I'm passionate. He did good. I got to stay on course, right? So we started the personal growth. And so we have dates in here. We started in September. We really had a re-engagement because anytime we fall off, we have to re-engage. We have to gather first. You can't just start tossing things out there, people, but you have to gather people, bring them together, call that reveille, blow the shofar, do whatever it takes to bring people to the table so we can begin to do what we need to do. And then, so we did test the team building, the leadership game. And it is a phenomenal tool to help us understand the dynamics in our organization. But we'll still be working with that until 2022 and maybe beyond, whatever it takes. It may have to, based on the survey, it may have to be location by location, and then maybe have another day where we can spend that amount of time that we need to, so you can really get into the game. And we had some powerful feedback out of that, and some really, we learned a lot about some of the people. We didn't even know some of the people we had in our network and what was in them just came out of that game. And but it's a game, but it's also a team building. It's an assessment tool, so you're able to look at your leaders, you look at your players, you know who's team player, who's not. I mean, there's so many facets to that game that when we fully play it out, and we'd love to have all leaders and staff be involved. We may have to create an event just to do that. And then the communication, with which we heard you, so we're putting in more communication. The last leadership we did communication. Everyone communicates, feel, connect, and becoming a person of influence. You know, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And anytime when we're not influencing the outcome, or we're not using our influence, then people don't understand that the leadership is not showing up. And not because you're not showing up as a leader, but we're having to use our influence. And so we want to bring that. We'll probably be coming back around, because as we notice, a lot of people did not participate in a lot of the surveys or in a lot of the sessions. So this has given us an opportunity to reset. Okay, every time the runners run, they start at the starting block. You can't start in the middle of the track once the run is over. You have to go right back to the starting block and start again. So we're going to be talking coaching, we're going to be role playing. We may do some group coaching. And if anybody feels they don't need to be coached, then all of us need a coach. All of us need mentoring. All of us need a level. And I was talking to one of my mentors today, and I'm like, you don't know, I wouldn't trade this mentor for the world. I mean, because the value of it is so great when you have someone that can speak to an area of your life and you give them permission to, and they can go places that, you know, you're okay with it. So you never get too big or too old or too much that you don't need a mentor or a coach. And so then we'll go back to team building, leadership game, extended time. So we're working on that. We're putting it in. So these are dates. I gave a time block because it takes time. But then also more leadership training and developing. If we look at the shift with the pandemic, and we look at what's happening on the world stage, we have to get back to leadership training and being influencers in the marketplace, influencers in different places. And just because it's starting in the church doesn't mean it has to end here. And so let's talk about measuring success. So let me speed up a little bit here. And so when we're talking about measuring success, forgive me if I get a little close up on my screen, or can you make it a little bigger? And so we're talking about when we'll see, we know we have success and we see positive change in the culture and communication. If we're still talking negative, if we still can't communicate truth, if we're still struggling with, even conflict resolution, then that's in the culture. That's toxic. When we can't talk to one another, but we talk about one another. Whatever is toxic, whatever is divisive, the culture is needing a shift and needing a change. And so when we see positive change, not just change, but positive change, okay, and then a greater desire for continual growth. And Apostle Turner always said, the proof of your desire is in your pursuit. And when you find yourself not wanting to pursue anymore, then you have to ask, okay, is my desire, in that place to continue growth? And so we're not, only if you have the time, only if you can make the commitment, only if you have the desire. Because one thing God does not do is go against anyone's will. He wrote the Bible. And he said, whosoever will, let him come, let him read it, let him partake of, let him, So we want you to know that this is it's a thing that we can all choose. And hopefully we'll do, like he said, choose the right thing, right? Choose. Okay, we're talking about team operating more cohesively and synergistically. Synergy is a word, and our Apostle Hunt did an awesome teaching on synergy. I mean, we have so much in our wheelhouse. Increased awareness and taking responsibility of personal behaviors. And I have learned this over years. We're responsible to people, but not for people. And we, as leaders, have to take responsibility for what we say, what we do, and our commitment. So we're working towards building all of this. And we heard people say they need application. And so a lot of this that we haven't said, we're going to be fixing the training, modulating the training so that we can have application in there so we can show people how to apply. And then increase staff morale. This is what we know. We'll know we're successful when we have increased personal vision. And I heard Apostle Early say this earlier. You have to have a vision. God gave Apostle Turner a vision, but our vision shouldn't be divisive. He'll give us visions within the vision. So you have to have a vision for yourself, seeing yourself a part of it. Increased vision, productivity in the area of individual niches and skill set. So your vision may not be mine, but it shouldn't interfere with the overall vision. It should, matter of fact, it should help bring it to pass. And then increase contributions to the overall visions of the local houses and the network. We're not just local. We've been told for years we're global. Like Margaret White said, we're on the global. Apostle White, she said, we're on the global. Okay, so you go on the global. And then we have leadership fully retrained and equipped to lead. And how many of you know we go back to school? Leaders, CPAs do it, doctors do it, every person, every professional, Prophet Todd. Do you retrain? Is there constant retraining in what you do? Okay, yeah, so, everyone that's in here that has a profession, know you have to go back. If you're a nurse, if you're a teacher, there are recertifications, and we talked about that. And then also reproduction, equipping and installation of the next tier of leaders. And so we have to know, we'll know that when we're starting to see that reproduction. Because if you're in a position and you aren't eyeing somebody that needs to be poured into, need to be set up. I had another part. Can you go back one slide? Because I didn't see the piece about succession that I had. Okay. Implementation of succession plan for all levels. We should be looking at succession. If you're still, I feel like this, if you're still in the same position and you haven't moved in the last 10, 15 years and somebody stepped up into what you're doing, we're not thinking succession. We always have to have a succession plan. There's always this, leadership is just like for family, it's always generational. If you're only looking at it as one generation, we have to look down the generations. The Bible said he blessed to the 1,000 generations. God is always looking generationally. And so even in the ministry, I would want to be available to mentor that next leader, to see them supporting or undergirding so that they can see that they're moving in the right direction. I don't want to die and then just leave it to chance. And so the ministry, all of us are getting older. None of us are going to live to be 1,000. I'm going to be cute and say 1,000. Well, then can I say 200? Or can I get 150? And so think about it. Now, if we're not, then why aren't we creating a succession plan? Why aren't we thinking succession? Why aren't you thinking about somebody replacing you? And the apostle taught us about working yourself out of a job. And that doesn't mean you're jobless. That means you're just in another position to multiply and continue to increase leaders and increase growth. Okay, so the next slide. And now we're almost done. Believe it or not, hey. We're moving on. Okay, all right. And so the barriers. There are always barriers. When we talk about the corporate SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, what your plan at home, your vision. As soon as you put a plan on paper and you go to implement it, me and my wife, we're going to travel the globe and we're going to do X, Y, Z, and we're going to do this. Go back one slide. Okay. All right. Then so as soon as you make that plan, but you got to know what are your opportunities and what are the threats to it. And so like anything else, there are barriers. So this is what we're threatening, what we're trying to do. That's planning and timing and timely preparation. If we're not doing it in a timely manner, so when you ask and tasked to do things, we have to be timely. It has to come in a timely manner. So then consistency compounds over time. Sometimes we don't like to take small actions, but they yield big results. But if we stay consistent, what did the apostle say? Inch by inch, it is a sense. Yard by yard is very how. Mile by mile, it takes a while. So if we take those small actions, small steps, and stay consistent in what we're doing, if we all come together collectively, I promise you, the synergy, all of that we're talking about. So the threat is inconsistency, lack of consistency, the lack of cohesiveness, lack of unity. The Bible says, a house divided against itself cannot stand. You think you can bypass that? It's a law. It's like gravity. So when we can't come together, guess what? We're not going to increase. We're not going to move forward. Communication. Ooh, I can't say this enough. I'm just gonna say lack of communication, and I'm gonna breathe. How many of y'all know this is my passion? This is my passion. Ah! This is my passion. Okay, lack of communication. I promise you, when we can't communicate, and that's every place, amen, that's a barrier. Patience and trust for the process. I heard on one meeting, it's like people, I want the church to grow. I just want the church to grow. But it's a process, and it takes time. He said, with patience, you can inherit the promise. What is that? With faith and patience, you can inherit the promises. So everything takes time. God gives us a vision, but I laugh when they talk about the temple. I remember one scripture said, well, he just said, tear this temple down, I'm going to build it up in 3 days. He said, well, we were 46 years building the temple. We can't wait 46 minutes, let alone 46 days, 46 months, and they said 46 years it took to build the temple. So come on. So let's talk about lack of quality resources. So we need to be resourced. And whatever that means, that could mean human resource. It doesn't just mean money. When we say resource, all of a sudden we start saying, oh, here they're going to come ask for some money. But we're talking about human resource. That's the greatest asset that we have is human resource. And so talking about, and then the autonomy and the bandwidth to meet the desired outcomes. And that means on local levels, when your people don't have the autonomy, on the network level, on any level, when we do not have autonomy, when we don't give them that authority and empowering people to get it done, that's a barrier to the success of what we're trying to accomplish. So that means that if you are the brake stop, then you need to look at that. What do I need to back away from and allow the people to have the autonomy and the capacity and the ability to get the job done? And so this is what we're moving toward, and this is where we want to bring everyone in so we're on the same page, and then we'll know what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And know we're doing it as unto God, because he said, except the Lord build a house. Guess what? That's going to be in vain. All right, and so now we want to talk about moving forward, and I want to turn it back over. Come on, let's give God a praise offering, wherever you're at, because this is a God thing. But we're going to turn it over to Apostle Early, and he's going to facilitate the questions. Is that all right with you, Apostle Early?
Yeah, I've been voluntold. It's all right.
Oh, well, I'm just giving
I'm
autonomy.
just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Listen, we only have 12 minutes here because we do need to be mindful of the preparations for service tonight. So we have time to take a few questions, whether that's coming from those that are virtual or those who are in person in the sanctuary right now. So we want to give you an opportunity to ask a question. I know it was a lot of information. You had two things, but we just kind of wanted you to be updated on where we've come, because it's kind of difficult to see that because a lot of this was behind the scenes and crafting a lot of things in order to get us where we are. So I want to give an opportunity for someone to ask a question.
Okay, does anyone here have questions? I mean, we welcome them. Questions give us answers.
Oh no, y'all ain't gonna embarrass me. How about on the Zoom? I know we have quite a few folks across the network that are on the virtual platform. So I do want to give them an opportunity as well.
Oh,
And it's
Spanky
okay
said
if
he
you
has
don't.
questions.
If they have
Okay.
questions on the other Zoom, just type it in.
Oh, they were saying on the Zoom, can they type it in the chat?
They can type it in the chat. Yep. As long as I can see it. Yep. They can type it in
Okay,
the
right.
chat and we could
Spanky will
address
read
it.
them out, yeah. I see
Okay.
some chat messages, but I don't know if there's any
Yeah, I don't
questions.
see anything on there. So we have 10 minutes. So whatever question is going to be, it needs to be quick.
Okay. Did everyone understand what was said? Okay. All right. Okay. We got a
That's
good job over here, and they were
a good
clear.
job.
Uh,
Okay.
okay. Was it enough? Was it sufficient? So then that means everybody's ready to take action, Apostle Early. They don't need any more to go
We
forward.
have one question from Pastor-elect Dier.
Okay.
What are the next steps?
Yeah. So the next meeting, the next Saturday training, we are going to, which would take place in September, we are going to walk through that process of what the next steps is. All right. Because what we've had over the last month in July, I had a total of 10 people who piloted our reporting, tested a lot of stuff. So we got to go through that analysis the rest of this month. And then we're going to be coming back. Now, what you saw on the plan that Apostle had lets you know what we are ready to start. And so we're ready to move forward on that communication piece. Some of the things that people were asking us for, conflict resolution, those things can be captured in one setting. But so we can do that. But I feel like the best place to start is really kind of explaining to everyone, okay, this is what we're going to need. Where do I go to have access to the tools and the things like that? So we can have that and then go live in October for the conflict resolution and things like that to start immediately on something that people were asking us for. All
Okay.
right.
And I
I
wanted
hope
to,
that answers your question. Yeah.
yeah, I hope so. And then I wanted to say, um, LIN operations at outlook.com. We really need you to let us know that because we have to find a way to get information to you. And so if we don't know you're not getting things, it's hard to get it to you. So if you opted out of constant contact, and then there's also Apostle Darling wanted us to know that the 407-966-2336, and you just text network. So we need to ask everybody here to ask your brother, your neighbor, are you plugged into operations? Are you plugged into network? Because there are opportunities that we want to see people join LIN operations, Apostle Early, as he's building out places, and you'll get more information if you let him know. So email Apostle Early James at linoperations at outlook.com or text network. And when we can get your information, we can communicate more frequently and more often and more efficiently. And so thank you. If you haven't been getting any message, this is a good time to let us know. Apostle Early.
Okay, and then so to that point, which is the great segue to why I think our next one needs to be an assimilation into here are all of the tools. If you've opted out, this is what you need to do. Let's get all of that logistical stuff together in September, and then at that point, everybody's on the same page. They're going to be getting the communications, and then we're ready to go live with acting immediately on one of the trainings that you've asked for in the previous surveys. There is 7 minutes left. Is there another question?
There is. Elder Reginald Williams says, is there going to be any processes that identify skills in the existing staff, and will it be made accessible for other networks to access?
That's a great question. So some of you were not a part of the pastoral meeting that we just did. And so we do have certain surveys. So if we could just get everybody's commitment around being in the September meeting, we'll be able to address that at that time. But we do have certain surveys that give us information. 16personalities.com, churchgrowth.com gives us the spiritual gifting. 16 personalities gives us your leadership style. And then, of course, this profile, which we are capable of doing. So what I would like to do is schedule a training, a special training that we do in the month of October. I'm sorry, in the month of November. Let me say November. Because what would be really good is if we could take as many people as possible through the DISC presentation. All right. So if we can get, as many people on it, I facilitated as many as 30 people at one time in the presentation. Then after that, you are welcome to reach out and order a debrief, which is a one-on-one session with either myself or Apostle Waddell, and then we can walk you through understanding that 31-page report that you'll get. All right. So if you come to something like that, that's a special event. Can I get, would people find that helpful if we did that? So we could all do it in all one setting. That way we can make sure that as many people as possible can get the presentation. And then from there, you can have your individual one-on-one sessions with us as we walk you through understanding that. So we have a lot of tools out there. We'll go over that in September so you know exactly what is available to you.
Right, and we have the capacity for some locations to do whole team
And
reports.
doing whole teams, right? If you
We
want
can
to
do
order
whole
it for your
teams.
location, that's
Yes.
true. That's a good point. Great point.
We have a good tool chest, and so we just look forward to serving this team, this network. So we're serving. This is about serving. This is not, this is all is about is serving you and making sure that you have everything that you need.
Yeah.
That's a great um, thing, because if you, again, we said, if you don't know yourself, you can't grow yourself, because we'll always be defending everything we do. We'll constantly be rejecting. But when we see ourselves in those personality tests, we see ourselves in the DISC personality, the behavior profiles. A lot of times we don't even know how cut up we are, how cut ups we are. We're cut up sometimes. We could be a real cut up. We don't know it. And when I found out things about me, I'm like, really? Oh, okay, cool, cool. I got something to work with here. But
So,
yeah, go
no, no,
ahead.
that's good. Joe. So, in the last 3 minutes here, I want to say this: the whole purpose of anything that we do here
Hmm.
is about adding value to you.
Hmm.
And so, if you don't remember anything from these things that we've said today, I want you to remember these three things. We do not want to assume that everybody understands who they are. We do not want to assume that everybody understands why they're here, meaning in the earth realm, not why you in Chicago, why you in this campus or whatever. No, it's larger than that. Why are you living? Why did God bring you here for such a time as this? Everybody needs to know that. All right.
Hmm.
Because that is a great way of managing engagement. All right.
Yes.
When you know why there is a reason, there's a purpose for me being in the earth, who they are, why they're here. And the final one is, what are
Hmm.
you called to do? What
Exactly.
is your assignment? What is your life assignment? You have to know that. That's larger than our vocation, it's larger than the roles we play. Why are you in the earth realm? Why did God say this time versus
Hmm.
100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago? We want everybody in our network to understand that. And that is the purpose for all these tools and surveys and things like that, because a person who understands those three things are going to be an effective apostle, pastor, teacher, whatever it is, whatever your role is in the organization. All right. And with that, it is what is that, 6:58? And I'm going to pass it back to whoever
We have
so that we can
two more
get ready to
questions.
start. Oh,
Yeah,
two
two
more
more.
questions.
Two more
All right,
questions.
y'all gonna get me in trouble. Come on.
First one is, what is the network text number again?
It's
Okay.
407-866-2336.
And then this question is from Pastor Ransford. In yesterday's meeting with Apostle Bam talked about getting a divinity degree. Do you know if L.I.N will be offering such discipline, or is there any recommended schools along with the classes Apostle Lathan will offer?
Yeah, so internal and external. So I know that Chicago is starting as well, their school. And then we have Apostle Bam School. I also have a school that I'm connected with that operates out of California that is degree offered. They go all the way up to the doctorate degree. And I'm in that program, in their master's program now. So the point is yes, we do have internal and external recommendations if you are outside of the degree window that is being currently offered. We do have those options, and again, that's something that you should want to come to the September training for to find out.
Okay. All
And it is 6:59. I'm just saying. All right, back to whoever it is that's supposed to do it.
All right. Did you want to we're going to just close out, and we're going to say
Yeah.
thank
Can
you
you
on
close?
behalf
Go ahead and
of
close us
our
out.
leaders, Dr. Shireen Lathan, Apostle Darlene Turner, and Apostle Early James. And we thank you, Father, for everything that's been said and done here. And Father, we thank you for eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to perceive what God is speaking. And we bless you all and say thank you. See you tonight for
tonight.
Built by Fire.
All right.
God
Thank
bless.